Welcome again to Travels with Monkey Boy. Today we are on day 2 of the trip to Ireland. So since the previous day was so grueling, day 2 is just going to be a sleep in, relax, and enjoy the moment sort of a day. No. The planned itinerary was to get up, to watch the sunrise across the Irish Sea, and then go to Cushenden Caves, where Melisandre, the sorceress, lived in Game of Thrones. Go to Dark Hedges, which you can see behind me. Go to Fairhead Cliffs, the cliffs of Dragonstone in Game of Thrones. Go to Carrick a Reed, a rope bridge, or the Bridge of Death, as I call it. Then Giant's Causeway, Bushmills Irish Whiskey Tour, Dunluce Castle, then the River Walk in Londonderry. Of course, 8 events in a day was aggressive, but fate and Danielle helped to narrow it down a bit. I excitedly told the girls about Carrick a Reed, a 250-year-old rope bridge between 2 sets of cliffs, suspended 10 stories above surf, stone, and certain death below, and cautioned that the bridge would be swaying quite a bit on a windy, rainy day like today, but was only about 20 meters across. At this point, Danielle helpfully reminded me that I was an idiot and there was no way on earth she was doing that. Then on our drive, we learned that Cushenden Caves were closed. Apparently, they've become a very popular attraction, so UK has decided to touristify them, which was sad to me. Much of Ireland has been fixed from its rugged, authentic beauty of 25 years ago to cater to the Disney crowds of today. Sigh. With 2 off our list, we started with the Dark Hedges, as you can see behind me. Actually, we started with getting lost. A road to the hedges was closed by a storm, and Google was incapable of understanding we didn't want to go on that road. And ultimately, we got lost on some tiny country roads until we came upon a giant, shaggy, all-black horse standing on a tiny hill that told us we were going in the wrong direction. We turned around to take a new path and eventually made it to the Dark Hedges. For all of you nature people out there, when you're going to Giant's Causeway, take a side path to the Dark Hedges. Yes, they appeared in Game of Thrones as part of the King's Road, but they are really cool. In the late 1600s, the Stuart family, probably my ancestors, as it seems my dad's mom's side of the family, the Stuarts, were Scots-Irish, was granted this land by James Stuart, King of Scotland and England at the time. Also, commissioner of the King James Bible and son of Mary, Queen of Scots, who was beheaded by Queen Elizabeth. You should read English history. It's very interesting. Anyway, in the late 1700s, the Stuarts decided to build a mansion on this land. We're not allowed to visit, even though I told them we were family. And along the lane that leads to the castle, they planted 150 beech trees, creating a magical tunnel that you can cross under as you walk the lane. Magnificent, but visit quickly. Beech trees are beautiful, grow to be 60 to 80 feet high, and live an average 250 years. These trees were planted 250 years ago. In fact, a third of them have already died, and I suspect this is something that will be gone in 50 years, so the robots will never get to appreciate their beauty. Stop number 2 was Fairhead Cliffs, a popular filming site in Game of Thrones, referred to as the Cliffs of Dragonstone. Here, we drove a meandering road to the top of the mountain and parked on a farmer's land. Our intention was to walk to the cliffs, but after walking about half an hour, the winds picked up and the rain came hard, and apparently to get to the unguarded cliffs, you had to cross farmers' fields filled with the now wet cows. There were many notes warning of the dangers of getting too close to the cliffs on a windy day, because you're going to get blown off. So deciding that our itinerary was too tight to reach the points of our likely death, we turned around, drove back down the mountain to a glorious little town called Ballycastle, where we had great views of the cliff and a nice Sunday brunch. After lunch was Giant's Causeway. As I mentioned, I had been here nearly 30 years before, and at the time, you just parked at the hotel and walked down to see the wonder. Ireland's only UNESCO World Heritage Site. Today there's a huge wall built, so you couldn't even see the wonder without paying, And they had a visitor center, and for a mere 20 pounds a person could pay for the visitor's experience. I mean, come on. The experience is the rocks. There's nothing the humans can add to make it better. But in the world of Disney, you have to capture those tourist dollars. To avoid the visitor's experience, there was a paid parking lot 15 minutes further away. From there, we walked to the hotel, past the wall, and then a beautiful 30-minute walk along surf, flowers, and cliffs down to the causeway. 50 million years ago, a volcano sent its lava to the sea. When it reached the sea, it quickly cooled and formed into columns of basalt. There are now 40,000 irregular shaped columns with 5 to 7 sides, creating what looks like stairs into the sea. It's called Giant's Causeway because, weirdly, across the Irish Sea in Scotland are similar, if less spectacular, columns. And legend has it that giants built a bridge of these stones between the two lands. Anyway, even if you aren't a geology nerd like me, it's really cool to see. The next step was Bushmills Tour, which we had to race to as the last tour of the day was at 4 p.m. I was really impressed with the Scottish whiskey tour I took years ago in Scotland, so I thought this would be fun. We arrived 15 minutes early, and the last tour was sold out. Not great tragedy, as I really don't like Irish whiskey as much as Scotch, and the girls didn't care a whit, so off to the castle. Castle Dunluce is a medieval castle ruins built on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. It was also used as Castle Greyjoy in Game of Thrones, but again, so much CGI you can barely tell. Lots of good history of this strategically placed castle, but the best was the story of Princess Maeve. Maeve fell in love with a local boy, but her father had offered her hand to a local noble. She refused, so he locked her in a tower. Patriarchy at it again. Her boyfriend, I think technically also part of the patriarchy, but I'm new to this, came one night to break her out, and they escaped the castle using a small boat. Sadly, a storm in the Atlantic blew up, and Maeve and her lover died in each other's arms, as the legend goes. I think they should have tried swimming, but the story isn't as good. The legend goes that even today at sunset, you can often hear Maeve, now a banshee, an Irish ghost, screaming in the wind. We didn't hear any banshee, but we had a nice time wandering the ruins. From there, it was about an hour drive to our Airbnb, and it was a glorious apartment overlooking the River Doyle with a river walk. Travel hint that while Airbnbs are rarely cheaper than hotels, they're often in amazing amazing locations. We picked up a bad Irish pizza and then collapsed into bed. Okay, now I'm going to show you the map of what we did, and then I'm going to show you a few pictures. So be patient with me. Here's the map. Once again, here's the UK, and here's Ireland. Remember, we started in Dublin. We ended up the first day at Ballyhalbert, which is the furthest eastern point of Ireland. And then we drove up to the farthest part of Northern Ireland. The caves that were closed are right about here. Would have been a nice halfway point, but closed. Here are the Dark Hedges estate. Then we went to Fairhead. And you can see it is beautiful cliffs. So we parked in this farmer's field and walked about, I think it's right here, and we walked about halfway to the cliffs, but for fear of being blown off, we abandoned in the rain. Here's Ballycastle. We looked to buy a house here. It is so beautiful. Then after Ballycastle, well, here's Dark Hedges. I guess we started there. Giant's Causeway. Let's zoom into this. Kind of an amazing spot. And then after that, it was down about here was the right around here was the Bushmills, and right on the cliff here is Dunluce Castle. and then we ended the day in Londonderry. Okay, so that was our tour. If you want to replicate it, and here very quickly is the some of the pictures. Here's the horse that told us the way. Look at the beautiful shaggy horse just standing out in the hill. Whoa. Okay, here's Lizzie sitting on a dead beech tree. This is the Dark Hedges. These are the beech trees. Danielle and Lizzie walking along, and then they stop to say hi. There's the glamorous Lizzie as she's about to enter the darkness. Here they're coming out of the darkness. It was moderately well walked, but remember, we're here in late September, and so well past the tourist season. I think during tourist season, it's quite busy. Um, just really an amazing spot. And here's the picture of how it looked in Game of Thrones. This is the Stewart mansion that they wouldn't let us into. Here's the top of Fairhead. So this was basically where we parked our car, and then you have to walk through the fields to the cliff. Didn't make it, pouring rain. Here is Fairhead from the distance. So we were up here, now we're down here. Ballycastle. Once again, the beautiful Lizzie. And it's just, Ireland is so beautiful. The beautiful red flowers and the waves and the pretty puffy birds with the Fairhead off in the distance. Here's our walk down to the cliffs of, or not the cliffs, the Giant's Causeway. Flowers and moss and stones. And here are the stones. They range in height from just a few feet to I don't know, probably 20 feet tall. Here's Danielle. These are all these stones, 40,000 of them. Little stairway down into the water. It's just really weird and cool and interesting. There's Lizzie there. This is the back end of it, the cliffs. Okay, here's Dunluce Castle. As I said, it's castle ruins, but pretty cool castle. You can see Maeve, the Irish ghost, in the background. There's Danielle soaking wet. Lizzie looking out the window. There's the walk down to the castle. Very majestic. It's a beautiful old castle ruins. There's entranceway. Don't want to be here with the earthquake. Looking out the window at the, again, beautiful cliffs. And here's the cliffs on the other side. And here was the view from our bed and breakfast, the Airbnb. Okay, that's all I got for today. Hopefully we can do the day 3 tomorrow. Talk to you later. Bye.